Kayanda, what's up? What's up, my brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right, doing all right. Bear with me, this is my first time doing one of these.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right.
How's your morning?
It's good, it's good. Start early these days.
Yeah.
With the quarantine, we're both working from home, so I've been on the morning shift. So I get up at 4, get to the shop about 5, and then work 5 to noon, go home and watch the kids for the afternoon.
That works.
Yeah. It's the best solution we've come up with so far. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we're going to start off with a series of questions.
All right.
And then we'll get into your journey.
All right.
What word or phrase do you overuse?
What word or phrase do I overuse? Sorry to get back to you so late.
That's not good.
That's recent.
Good. What is your least favorite thing to do?
I would say deal with flies. No. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess
In life.
I would say as a business owner, I kind of switch between feeling like I'm not devoting enough time to the business versus not devoting enough time to family. And so it seems like there's always that grass is... I got a train going, Mike. Can you hear that? I don't know if it's too bad.
I can hear you.
So, I don't know. It seems like it's always one of those grass is always greener situations, right? When I'm at the shop, all I think about is, oh man, I haven't spent enough time with the family. Whenever I'm with the family, I got to get back to the shop. I'm not making enough stuff, So, let's see. Other hard stuff, prepping for a vacation.
Whoa. 1 second. What is your least favorite thing to do?
Least favorite thing to do? Taxes. I gotta file my sales taxes tonight.
I'm with you there. I got in big trouble with that.
Yeah.
Big trouble.
I will say my wife's a CPA, so she does all the heavy lifting on that. I just gotta.
Okay. So you're lucky.
Yeah.
What is your most favorite thing to do?
My most favorite thing to do is probably freeform design. So that early stage of just coming up with things off the top.
What about in life?
In life, hanging out with my family, watching my girls grow up.
All right. How many girls you got?
Got 2 girls, 4 and 6.
Okay, cool. It's a good age.
Yeah. They're a little crazy. They're growing a little cabin fever with the quarantine, but they're good kids all around.
Right. What is the one thing your spouse would change about you?
I would make more to-do lists. I can be a little scatterbrained. So she's very detail oriented, and she's she's got a finance background. She's got that kind of mind, whereas I'm a little more creative and kind of not aloof. But,
no, I'm with you. So what?
Our differences are complementary, so it works out. But just more to-do lists, stay more on point with things.
Okay. In a positive way, what makes you tick?
Man, I don't know. The desire to create things. I mean, that's always been what I do, whether it was furniture or in my early days, I was painting in my room or fixing broken stuff. Just working with my hands.
Okay. What irks you the most?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What irks you the most?
I'm going to say clutter, but I'm guilty of it. So again, room for personal growth, but
Right. What sound makes you happiest?
What sound makes me happiest?
Yes.
When I wake up in the morning, sometimes when it's nice out, I'll go outside and have a cup of coffee in our little like patio in our backyard. And there's a quiet in the morning where just the birds are chirping. I think that's probably my favorite sound.
All right, cool. What is your least favorite sound? What sound bothers you?
When my children are whining a lot.
What profession other than your own would you like to try?
I always wanted to be a race car driver.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you dabbled in it at all?
Very minimally.
Do you collect cars?
Yeah, just I guess I wouldn't call it a collection, but I just bought a 1970 Volkswagen Type 3 Squareback. That was again kind of a quarantine impulse purchase. It's a work in progress. Currently pulled all the suspension apart and we're rebuilding it. So yeah, no, I've always been a car guy.
Who's working with you on it?
Just me.
Okay. I have a 51 crotch cooler.
Okay.
A 54 hardtail light.
Okay.
A 64 Beetle as well.
Oh, all right. Well, then we need to talk some more. When we're at home, I'll reach out.
And a 69 Cormac gear.
All right. No, I've got So I don't know how familiar you are with Type 3s, but I've run into this problem where I can't find needle bearings for the upper torsion arms. So I think my job when I have a free minute this week is going to be to machine some Delrin bushings for the top, but we'll see how that goes. I might reach out to you separately.
Yeah, no problem. What would you want on your tombstone?
Man, that he lived well and loved well and left something to last beyond himself.
Okay. What is it about?
Sorry.
We'll wait till the train passes.
I still can't hear you. What?
No, so we'll wait till the train passes.
All right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you
Turn
good.
the volume. Okay.
It's the city life, man. You're in Chicago. I'm in New York.
Yeah, we're right next to the Green Line, so.
It's all good. What is it about your personality that drives your business?
My desire to create. You know, I get a little stagnant with doing the same thing over and over again, and so I'm always just pushing to make new stuff, whether that's custom or designing new collections. It's always moving forward.
Okay. What is it about your personality that hinders your business?
Back to that making lists thing, kind of being a little scatterbrained.
Okay. Who would you travel cross country with on a motorcycle?
Would I drive on the same motorcycle or on a separate motorcycle? I drive. Okay, same. Well, when I was young, my dad had I guess he still has it, a '73 BMW R100, which, you know, was a cool motorcycle back then, and now it's like elite status. So, I remember riding on the back of his motorcycle, and I think that would be fun. But motorcycles are dangerous, so I don't know if I don't want to do that anymore.
All right. It's hypothetical.
All right. I take my kids. Yeah.
All right.
I remember.
You can only take one. You can only take one.
I can only take one. This is a sidecar.
All right.
Or is that not allowed?
It's hypothetical, of course.
All right.
What was your favorite concert?
My favorite concert? When I was 15, I went to go see Primus and Power Man 5000 and a little band nobody had ever heard of at the time, Limp Bizkit.
Cool.
And I mean, that was like before Fred Durst became Fred Durst, but yeah, Primus. That first Primus concert I went to as a youth. I mean, there's been other good concerts, but for some reason that one sticks out as kind of your intro to live music.
Right. When was the last time you cried?
A week or so ago.
Why?
Our dog's getting older, and I'm getting a little worried about having to put her down.
How long has she been with you?
She is coming up on 12 years, but she's a Yorkshire Terrier. She's got a congenital heart failure, so she's been, on and off with some heart meds. So
I had one dog once. I lost him to heartworms.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy traumatic.
Yeah.
I got two more dogs. They ran away like continuously.
Yeah.
And I said no more.
Yeah.
And in addition to the crying, it's like a family member.
Yeah. And it's one of the things where, we got the dog right after we got married, and my wife wanted it. And I'd grown up with dogs, but I was kind of like, whatever, they're a lot of responsibility. We got a lot of work. But then when I started the business, she really, she started coming to the shop with me every day, and we kind of had this, inseparable bond that's grown over the years. So, that was
How far are you from your shop?
It takes me 35 minutes or so, 45 minutes to get here, depending on traffic.
All right. What impact do you want to leave on your industry?
On my industry? Just make furniture to last again. That was always the point when I started the company I was a little disappointed with commercial furniture and just how throwaway it had become. And luckily we were on the early wave of kind of the handmade movement where now there's a lot of people making stuff the right way, quote unquote.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I want to leave it.
When was the most difficult time for your business, and how did you overcome it?
We've had a really lucky, easy ride.
Good.
I would say the hardest, and it wasn't really even that hard, was when we were at our old shop. Our lease ran up and the landlord wanted to double our rent, so we had to look for a new shop. But it was about time to move anyway, so it wasn't really that much of a hardship. We've done pretty well with minimizing risks. So we've never really had a problem with overextending ourselves or going too far in that regard. So we've been really lucky and fortunate.
Okay, cool. Do you have any black friends, and how many?
So I gotta say no. I did growing up. My best friend. Long story, but my parents never married, and so I grew up kind of an only child with my mom, and we lived in an apartment complex in Minnesota. And my best friend was this kid, Chad Freeman, and I recently reached out to him through Facebook. 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, just to, I randomly had a thought about him, and this was before all of this, and I found out he'd actually passed away. He was, he was my age.
Sorry to hear that.
He was young, so it was kind of one of these things where I was just surprised to see he had gone. But yeah.
Right. Do you often see people of color in your industry?
Not in our industry, no.
Right. So let's get on with your journey.
Sure. Where do you want me to start?
We're going to start from high school.
Okay.
So we're going to start from high school and all of the different things that led to where you are now.
Sure.
I'm gonna turn. Tell me if this fan's too much, because man, it's hot in here.
Yeah.
New York is on fire.
Yeah. So no, I can hear just fine. Let's see, high school. I was kind of a grungy alternative kid, but grew up kind of in my dad's workshop. He was a machinist. My grandfather was a woodworker. So in high school,
Hold on. Now, this is what when I asked you about colored people in the industry. This is so funny because I had this Friday. I had the conversation with Phil Morley about access and opportunity, right? Yeah. And now you're the perfect example of the time period.
Yeah.
Right? So your dad was a machinist.
Yep.
Is he still with us?
Yeah.
How old is your dad?
He is 60, 61 almost. No, he just turned 61, I think. Yeah.
That's young.
Yeah, he's 22 years older than him. So.
Okay. So your dad is 61.
Mm-hmm.
How old is your grandfather still with us?
No, he passed 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. How old was he when he passed?
That is a question I am not 100% sure of.
No problem.
In his 80s, yeah.
Okay, so he was in his 80s. Now, if you go back 60 years, that puts us in 2020, 1960?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, your dad, your grandfather is 80 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that puts us in 1940?
Yes. Well, if he was 80 now, so yeah, he was 30. Yeah, 1930s. Yeah.
1940s, 1930s. Now, when we talk about access and opportunity, this is why we don't see black people in the industry. Because in 1930, 1940, 1960, we were fighting for freedom.
Yeah. Not a lot of machinist jobs.
Right. So, and it took me a minute to get that, because out of all of the hobbies that I'm in, I would never see people of color.
Yeah.
It would always be me and an older white dude.
Yep.
And I started to think, why the hell don't black people have hobbies? And I started to blame it on us for not getting out. And then I started to think about it.
It's generational. Yeah.
Right. It's generational.
Yeah.
It's my father, who passed away a few years ago, could not work side by side with your father.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And our grandfathers couldn't do the same thing either.
Yeah.
So while we were doing some menial job, you all were having regular jobs and able to pass that on to generations.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so go ahead.
Sorry, someone just started fixing pipe. Can you hear that here too? Yeah.
A little bit. You're in the shop.
They're doing pipe work too, so hopefully that's not too long.
No, you're fine.
I can move if we need to. Grew up in the shop. As for high school, I forget what the options were, but it was like band or shop or for the electives, and I went through all of the woodworking electives. So much so, in fact, that they started to make a special elective for me, where basically I would just go in and mess around in the shop. At the time, I was doing a lot of wood turning, so like turning, vases and bowls and whatever I could put on the lathe.
So how long ago was that? That was pretty early.
So that was 97, 98. I would have been 15, 16.
Yeah.
So and like I said, growing up in my grandfather's wood shop, he was more of a wood carver, but he had a lathe, and I was familiar with a lot of these tools before I was even in shop class in high school. So not only did I take to it pretty quickly, but I kind of had a leg up just because I could do it at home on the weekends. This was all just stuff that I like to do. I remember one Christmas, all I made for presents was just a bowl. I had worked it out in school that I could put out a bowl every week if I had staggered, like gluing up all the segmented pieces, like on Monday, Tuesday, and I would kind of work through a schedule where every week I would just kind of bang out another one. So I had, you know, four or five different bowls in process throughout the week, and you know, inside of an hour or two every day, could kind of make that happen.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was fun. I wonder if I've got any. Yeah, hold on. I'll be right back. I'm gonna show you one I made in high school. Yeah, so this was it's our key bowl now, but so this was one. This is the kind of thing I was doing. Like I said, it was like Monday I would cut all the parts, glue them up. You know, Tuesday we'd rough it out. I'd get on to finishing one of the ones I had done the week prior.
Okay, so where'd you learn to do this?
High school, in wood shop.
Oh, yeah. So they taught you this in wood shop.
Yeah, so the segmented bowls, my shop teacher taught me that. Yeah.
Was he a pretty good turner?
You know what? I don't remember actually seeing his work. I just remember him saying, "Hey, you can, you know, why don't you try and, you know, instead of," I had started with just gluing up, you know, chunks of, you know, 4/4 whatever, because the wood would get scrap wood from you know, wherever they could. So it was all short pieces, which is again why wood turning made more sense in shop class. And as the scrap pieces got smaller and smaller, I would start, you know, cutting up littler and littler pieces and start making things like this, and just kind of took it and went from, you know, random scraps to trying to do different spirals and stuff like that. And if I thought I could make any amount of money wood turning, I'd probably still be doing it. But yeah, so anyway, finished all the shop classes, graduated high school. In all of that, I thought, hey, you know, I like to make stuff. Let's build big things. And so I went to school for architecture.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Kansas, KU. And about midway through my studies, I kind of realized that furniture was where I wanted to stay.
Okay, so let me pause you for a second.
Sure.
Kansas, you were there. When were you there?
I was there 2000 to 2004.
Who was playing basketball then? Was that after Danny Ferry?
That was Jeff Boschee.
Am I saying the right name?
I'm trying to think.
The guy who won the national championship.
You're asking the wrong kid, man. Sorry.
You weren't into basketball.
Not really. I mean, I was, you know, circumstantially just because I was there, but you know, I don't keep up with it. Yeah. Right. I always had my head into cars rather than sports. So, but yeah, so yeah, in school, I mean, my first job on campus was working in the dorms, in the basement, fixing dorm furniture. I don't know how I fell into it, but I think I saw like, you know, dorm maintenance. I was like, oh, whatever, I'll get a job doing this. It was part of my student aid to, you know, to work some of that off. And so I went down into the basement, and I hope I don't get anybody in trouble there, but I remember my first day, they're all kind of sitting around the table in this basement shop, all smoking. Like, well, you know, it's a state job, so get your homework done first, and then we'll get work done. I was like, all right, thanks. And what that morphed into was basically I had free access to their full shop. And they had in a storage room all of these old like bookcase shelves that were just scrap. They were getting rid of it. So I had ended up making a lot of furniture out of old KU bookcases. In the dorms for friends and stuff.
So were you selling it at this time or just doing it for free?
Just doing it for free. Yeah, I mean, this was just like, you know, I liked making stuff, and you know, the shop guys were fun. So like, I made one of the shop guys' wife's a quilt rack, and like entertainment furniture for all the like my buddies' dorms and stuff. Like it was just, you know, something to do that wasn't, you know, fixing toilet partitions or something, you know. Yeah, no, that was, you know, I was just messing around in a shop making furniture. And so, you know, I kind of realized halfway through that maybe since I'm not focusing all of my energies on my architecture projects and focusing more on building furniture, that I should probably stick with that. So graduated. And
in architecture?
With architecture, yeah. So I got my degree.
What kind of architecture did you study? What did you concentrate on?
So it was just a bachelor's of architecture.
Okay.
So it's pretty widespread. If I wanted to practice architecture, I would have gone back for my master's and done all the internships and stuff. But like I said, about halfway through, I kind of realized that I didn't want to do that. I got a little disillusioned with kind of what being an architect was actually going to mean. Whereas, like, let's say I went through it. Best case scenario, I get a job after I graduate at an architecture firm. You know, I'm basically just doing CAD drawings for the next 10 years before I design anything. Even when I do, if I get the greatest clients in the world that give me, you know, carte blanche to design whatever I want, I'm still dealing with precedent, building codes, and, you know, all of this red tape that I really wasn't going to be able to do with as much freedom as do what I do with furniture. So all of that kind of led to just let's stick with furniture. So in school, I met my wife. We were both working at Best Buy, and I graduated a year before her. So I moved back to Chicago.
Let me pause 1 second. What department did you work in Best Buy?
I was in home theater, selling TVs. Plasma TVs had just come out, so we were moving all of the old, like, big projector TVs. And I remember the first plasma came out. It was like a 40-inch plasma and cost $25,000. It was like, yeah.
Did you sell one of those?
Yeah, we sold a few. Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, at that time, and I don't know if it's still that way, but Best Buy was non-commissioned, so it was just whatever. You know, it was an hourly job. So anything big like that, it was kind of like the whole team swarmed around and everyone got a hand on it, right?
Right.
But yeah, so I met my wife down there. But like I said, I graduated a year earlier, so I moved back to Minnesota, back to the job I was working at in high school, which was like I was a runner at a Porsche Audi dealership, and like was pretty aimless. You know, didn't really know how to make any money out of furniture, so you know, I was still building stuff, but like just for friends and family, selling it, but not like at any kind of a profit. When I think back to that, it was you know, I probably lost more money than earned, but I gained a little bit of experience, and I got to make some stuff. My wife graduated and she moved to Chicago. She you know, again, she plans for things and enacts those plans and follows through. So yeah, she moved to Chicago. She got a job at a Big Four accounting firm, and like, you know, really had her shit together. And
you were like, I'm on the way?
Pretty much. It was kind of like, well, you know, I miss you, and obviously this wasn't, you know, working in Minnesota. So I moved to Chicago, basically, you know, sold my car in Minnesota, hopped on a megabus, and had a suitcase and like no money to my name. And she let me stay in her apartment, but she wouldn't let me unpack because she's smart.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, and so I lived out of my suitcase. She's like, you can stay in my apartment until you get a job. And so, yeah, I lived out of my suitcase.
You to get a job?
month and a half or so, maybe 2 months. She might tell you longer. I don't know. My memory is fuzzy. This was 15, 16 years ago now. But yeah, so that actually brings me to the job. The job I found was kind of serendipitous. I was looking, I figured I knew how to make furniture, but I had zero idea how the furniture business worked. And so if my eventual goal was to, start a furniture company, I was going to have to learn how that business worked. So I started looking for furniture sales jobs. And because my aesthetic and because of, architecture school kind of promoting modern furniture or modern design as the best, I was looking at modern furniture stores. I applied it like Design Within Reach and, Wener, all of these hyper modern places in Chicago. And then randomly on Craigslist, I found an ad that said something like Asian Antiques Gallery seeks full-time sales associate. And my first thought was, well, I don't know anything about Asian history and I don't know anything about antiques, but fuck it, I've got an afternoon. It'll be a practice interview, right? Just get out there, get practice. So I bring in my resume, they call me in, and I was immediately kind of blown away by this furniture store. It wasn't anything what I thought it was going to be.
How so?
Well, in my head, I heard Asian antiques and I thought chinoiserie. You think ornate carving and these kind of hyper detailed things. But what I saw were not that. There was a genre of Chinese furniture called scholars furniture, which really favored more of the austere line. So everything was very clean, simple, but some joinery that I had never seen really done before. That's really what blew my mind away was a lot of these joints that were all hand cut, and these pieces were 200-300 years old. And so in the interview, again, it was a practice interview, so I was real loose. I basically said, hey, I'm looking to start a furniture company. I make furniture. I design furniture. I don't know anything about the furniture business, but I'll give you the next, 5 years of my life. I had some sales experience, obviously, with Best Buy and customer service experience with the Porsche Audi dealership. I'll give you the next, 4 or 5 years of my life if you teach me how the business works. It came out in the interview that they were interested in me because of my architecture background. Again, this was right when plasma TVs or thin screen, flat screen TVs were kind of coming into popularity. The pricing had dropped, and now people were buying it. And they were finding that this new technology was needing furniture. They were getting a lot of clients asking, oh, can I cut apart this cabinet to fit a TV in? And what they had figured out was they got a shop from one of the owner's brothers in Thailand to basically recreate these antique pieces using old wood, just to whatever design they sent forth. So what they needed was someone to draw up the CAD programs. And so,
which you didn't want to do.
But I knew how to do. This is all I'd been doing for the last 4 years. So it was, I can do that all day. And so with that, they gave me the job, and I started working there, and it was really a great partnership. The store's called the Golden Triangle. They're down here in Chicago. And what I did with them, outside of basically being exposed to some of the finest furnishing from around the world that has not only maintained because it looked good, but also because it was well made. That really changed my outlook on how furniture should be built, what kind of materials it should be made out of, and opened my eyes to kind of the luxury world of furniture. So while I was there, we designed a lot of different cabinets to put TVs in, but then we started branching out into just doing full custom collections of furniture made in the shops that they had overseas and shipped back over.
Now, did you do any sales at all, or just
Yeah.
design?
Yeah. So I was also selling the antiques as well. So again, making connections in the design world, figuring out how an interior design and client relationship works. So how to manage the design clientele and community and all of that. Let's see, where were we? This is like 2008. So the housing recession kind of hits, things start slowing up. And my, 4 years was kind of hitting up. So it seemed like the right time to start out on my own, right? Because if you can make it in a recession, you can make it anytime. So quit my job.
That's brave.
Yeah. It was, it was one of those things where we had saved up a little bit of money. And again, my first bit of advice for anyone looking to get into this is marry someone with health insurance. Because again, my wife has been, not just my partner in this, but has supported me, in starting a business and continuing the business and really making everything grow. So we decided, hey, why not start? We didn't really want to put a lot of money into it. And so that first year in business, what I was doing was actually, we were living in downtown Chicago. I would drive 7 hours to Minnesota, build as much furniture as I could in my dad's basement shop, load it all up into our SUV, drive back to Chicago and sell it in Chicago. And it worked out well for a while, about a year. And at the start, it was, drive to Minnesota, work there for about a week, load it all up, come back, 3 weeks in Chicago. My wife had a job that had her traveling a lot. She was in audit, so she was traveling throughout the week. We'd see each other on the weekend. Wasn't a big deal. Then it got to be more like I was in Minnesota like 2-3 weeks out of the month.
Got busy.
Yeah, we got busy, right? I should add, when I left the Golden Triangle, I basically said, hey, you remember in the interview when I said I was going to leave to start my own thing. Now's the time. Would you be interested in showing any of my work? Rightfully so. They said, let's see it first. And so when I built my first collection, I brought it over there and it started selling pretty well through their gallery.
Wow.
And so, we were doing that. I was on Etsy. That was before Etsy really got huge. Was surprised at how well internet sales were doing and things were moving. So I got about a year in, I got a big restaurant job for a nice restaurant here in Chicago. And that afforded me to kind of pick everything up and move into a shop in Chicago. Found a little space that, I think I spent like $700 a month on rent.
That's what my first rent was.
Yeah. It's like, if I could spend that, it would be amazing, right? So spent like $5,000 at Grizzly and bought a table saw and, a bandsaw, a joiner, and a planer.
That's all you need.
And started with that. And we were making furniture, and then.
Now, did you have any help, or were you alone at this time?
I was alone at this time. And so, just working on the third floor of this building on kind of the northwest side of Chicago. Orders just kept coming in, and we kept growing and kept adding more tools and reinvesting in the business and growing as we could. Brought on a couple of people, that's been growing ever since, I guess.
Yeah. So would you say that restaurant was the moment that you realized you could do this?
No, I think so. I think it was a little earlier than that, as we were kind of getting stressed with how much I had to be back and forth. Once it got to really be like, oh, you know, I got to make a lot of furniture this week, you know, and it's all got to fit in this little SUV. I don't know how this is going to work. That was kind of the point where like, oh, maybe this is possible. And we started early enough that, like I said, it was kind of on the early end of the kind of handmade wave. So we were lucky to kind of catch that wave on the front end. Yeah, it was before that. The furniture or the restaurant job really just kind of funded the move that needed to have happened probably 2 or 3 months prior. I say funded the move, but I think I lost a lot of money on that job.
Of course you did. You didn't know how to price it.
It was my first big one, and I was like, yeah, no, we can do that. No problem. And then, you know, I think it was like 3 weeks of work until like 2 or 3 in the morning every day trying to get it done. And
you know, yeah, and that's the thing about a short timeline and a small budget.
Yeah. I didn't realize how short the timelines were for the restaurant industry either.
Yeah,
they were
those things are two negatives. And it seems like in the restaurant industry, the last thing they do is worry about where people are going to eat.
Yeah. So it was it was an interesting job. It was like a lounge area in the front of the restaurant, and I went back like 2 or 3 years later, and it had already been replaced. It was kind of like, oh man. I'd put so much effort into making everything perfect, and you know, I kind of realized like, oh, they didn't care about that at all.
No, yeah, which is why they come to us at the last minute.
Yeah,
you know, few people do it correctly, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
Hey, I need 20 tables by next week.
All right, we'll get it done.
I'm like, how long have you been working on this restaurant? Oh, 6 months.
Yeah.
And you just decided to.
Yeah.
So, so what has been the most gratifying thing about doing this?
Just watching the growth. I think, you know, we've gone from, like I said, making stuff in my dad's basement with, you know, nothing but a table saw and a drill press, to now I'm in we're a 6,500 square foot shop.
Wow.
Yeah, and I share it with a couple of other guys. We've got a little kind of community or co-op, I guess is the best way to put it. And they all do some work for me on the side. So yeah, we got a good little group here. But
okay.
Yeah, no, it's just been the growth. You know, we keep adding more tools and keep trying to do bigger and better things.
All right. Is there anything in the industry that you have not done that you want to do?
I don't do a lot of built-in stuff. I guess that's not something I want to do. But let's see, something I do want to do in the industry. I'd like to move into a little bit more purely artistic work. I mean, I enjoy furniture and the functionality of it, but I think it would be rewarding to me to just kind of do a little more free-form thinking and kind of flesh out, you know, some of that side of it.
Okay. All right. Speaking of shop, can we get a tour?
Sure. Let's see here. So bear in mind, it's kind of messy. We moved in 2 years ago, but so we're in kind of what is my office, even though it's also housing stuff. As you walk in, we've got kind of my area over here.
It's a big shop.
Yeah, so we've got, you know, a couple of build spaces over here. All of our finishing stuff happens over on this side. We've got a little spray booth back there. Our wood racks are over here. I'm going to be turning these into a big slab table there.
What kind of wood is that?
That's all walnut.
Where'd you get that from?
There's a guy in Wisconsin. Actually, you were asking about Ben from Chef to Table. He tipped me off to this guy in Wisconsin who's got a mill. So I went out there a couple of weeks ago and picked all that up, loaded it up into my van, and drove it back. It was a bit too much for that poor little van, but you know, we made it happen.
How big is your? I got a big van.
It's so these are 13 foot. They stuck about 2 feet out the back, and you know, it's just a 1500 van, so it was sagging a bit in the back, and you know, I think the brakes got a little hot.
Yeah, I got a 3500.
All right, yeah, you're good. So anyway, yeah, we got a little CNC, we got our slider, table saw, mashup. If that the Ramon Artful, I think he gave me the idea for this nested table saw thing. That's Doug. He's back in the shop back there.
What's up, Doug?
One of my coworkers here. So we got a little CNC, you know, our wide belt, big joiner.
How come you didn't participate in the shop tour?
Because I'm bad at keeping up with Instagram stuff. So I don't check it very often, and when I do, it's pretty quick. Here's our little metal area. You know, a couple of different welders. Sorry, I'm right in front of a fan, so I don't know if that's coming through. But yeah, it's
so
all
you have
messy.
2 welders there.
Yeah, we got a TIG welding, MIG welding, plasma cutter. Here's my new toy. It's a belt grinder. Let's see. Yeah, we got back here. We got a mill and a lathe, so we can do pretty much anything we need to do.
Yep.
Kind of in-house. The only thing we don't do is stuff like bronze or aluminum casting, and then we don't do really any upholstery here, just because it's dusty and gross. And
now, do you do upholstery anyway?
Yeah, so we've got some upholsterers that we work with that we can do some stuff there.
Okay. All right.
So that's basically it. Yeah.
Do you own all the tools and rent out the space, or co-own tools with the shop mates?
So I own everything except for the CNC. It's Doug's CNC. Oh, and the slider. The slider is another guy's, but he didn't have a spot for it, so I gave him a spot for it as long as
we can help you out with that.
Yeah.
And how many different guys are there?
So it's me, Doug, and Paul are the main guys in the back, and then there's a few other guys that kind of come in and use the space nights and weekends and stuff. You know, basically anyone who does any work for me, like as contract workers, somehow gets some kind of access to the shop for their own stuff. So, you know, I like to make it open and kind of, you know, let everybody get a chance to come in and make some stuff.
And how does sharing the shop work for you? Is that good?
It's like having roommates, right? It's nice to have people around. It's nice to share rent. It's nice to, you know, have that kind of community.
Second opinions, the whole bit.
Yeah. Do people leave their shit around? Yeah. Sometimes I do too. So, you know, but that's how it is, you know, and the net effect is we get to kind of ping information off of each other. We get to
that's the important part.
Yeah, we get to, like I said, share tools. If you know, if we're ordering belts for the wide belt, I'll order 6 because I know we're going to go through them. You know, we all chip in on blade sharpening. We all chip on gas for the welder. You know, so it's nice to have a bit of a community. And I worked alone for so long that you know, you start talking to yourself and your dog a little too much. That it's nice to
have people around.
Have people around, yeah. And one time I almost got crushed by a slab, so it's nice to have someone just can lift that off for me if I need to.
Safety.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So I think we've covered it.
All right.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you coming out.
Of course. And everyone who tuned in, we appreciate it.
So I did want to have a question about you know, people of color in woodworking. How can we promote more? Because it does, like I said, I just don't see a lot of people in color, you know, when I'm asking to hire people, you know, it just doesn't come in.
Right. And that has to do with the access and the opportunity.
Yeah.
So probably what you're going to have to do is hire someone and train them.
Yeah.
That's honestly, because we don't have the experience. We don't have the inroads.
Sure.
So it's not a field that we're in. And as I tell people, if you look at the industry, not the woodworking industry, the wood industry.
Yeah.
And woodwork is only a part of that.
Yeah.
There's the forestry, transportation, all of those different pieces of the hand, all of those fingers on the hand, there's no people of color, and none of it.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, I see Spanish guys in it now, and it's because they've worked for guys and they went off on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times they're just laborers.
Yeah.
So they're in the industry, but not really.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that, honestly, it's going to require work. It's going to require effort. It's going to require patience. So, I'll tell you the way that I did it. I see kids walking down the street, right? This is so funny. I jumped out of my van. I said, "Excuse me," and they were like, because they were walking by my shop. I said, I want to shop here. I said, I'm trying to hire young brothers and teach them woodworking. Here's my card. I said, come in. I'll show you around. There was an assertive guy who walked in. Other guy stood a little bit to the back as they were coming in. And I started talking to him. And it's so funny. The quiet guy is the one who called me.
Yeah.
The assertive guy he was just in it for the information.
Yeah.
It's like, what's up? What's up? And the guy who stood back actually worked for me for like a year and a half out of high school, and he wanted to work. He was very smart. He was a little slow on getting it, but after 30 days, he was using the jointer, the planer, the table saw, he was blowing up tables, the whole bit. The problem was, because we're not in this industry, his mom was scared of him being in the shop.
Yeah.
But sometimes he was coming to work and she didn't know. And I'm like, you can't do that, man.
Yeah.
You can't sneak to work. But he was good. I mean, he was good. So, you know, and that's what it's about. It's about effort.
Yeah.
He showed up to work every day. He worked hard.
Yeah.
He was smart. He worked late. He worked the weekends. He was good. So, you know, on all of our part, it's going to take effort.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something I've wanted to do for a while. I mean, we're in a Black community, so, you know, I see a lot of opportunity for the place to kind of come up, and
yeah, I mean,
you know, I want to do what I can.
Walking down the street and say, hey, I'm looking to hire somebody part time. Do you know anybody?
Right.
And he said, I prefer to hire someone of color, and they'll look around. And the best thing to do is get a young guy. Yeah. Someone who's out of high school, someone who's in and out of college. I mean, even whomever you can get. Just, it's, as I always tell people, you're going to have to kiss a few frogs.
I've been there.
Yeah, so it's gonna take going through some people. But once people in the community know that they could possibly work, people will start knocking on your door. Hey, you got any work? But it's up to you to look at and discern who's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Whether someone who needs a job or whether someone who needs money to go get a drink. Yeah. So, you know, that's all a part of it. Right. Yeah, I think that'd be better for you too, as opposed to, you see, I had the same thing, right? I don't live in my neighborhood. and I just came into work and left.
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking, I need to become a part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because I live in a working class neighborhood.
Yeah.
They're not, no gangbangers, none of that kind of stuff. It's a working class, poor.
Yeah.
And, you know, always being alone to myself, I'm like, I got to get to know the people around here. So when people walk in the dog, I'm like, hey, how are you? I have a furniture shop here. There was a lady who had a flat like 2 or 3 times in a row, and I went out and I helped her change the flat.
Yeah.
So people are getting to know me. There's a couple of local guys I tried to hire. But as long as you make the effort and people know you're there, it'll come to you naturally.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll reach out for sure.
Yep, absolutely. All right, my brother, I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. Like I said, thanks for having me on.
All right, this will go on to the page, and after, I guess today, tomorrow, it'll be on YouTube.
Awesome.
All right, my brother. Thanks again, man, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.